When it comes to motivation, have you noticed? It's really an inside game, isn't it? Think about it for a moment. How many times have you heard people say, I know I have, in the 52 years I've been doing this work for the Silva Method, people have often said to me, I know what to do, I know how to do it. Really? What's the problem? I just don't feel like doing it. You see this especially when it comes to managing weight. Anybody who's ever struggled with their weight will tell you, I've read every book, I could write my own book, I know exactly what to do and what not to do. When I specialized in this a few decades ago, I said, well then why are you here? Because I just don't feel like doing it. Or on the flip side, people say, I know exactly what I shouldn't be doing, but I keep doing it. Again, it's a habit. And you know this, habit patterns. We're very, very much creatures of habit. And through repetition, through consistent repetition, we develop habit patterns. Some of them serve us, some of us don't. When it comes to fitness, I was just talking with a coach client, so I was mentoring. He says, I love to work out. I feel so good. I have so much energy. But I was away at a conference and I just didn't do it at all because things got in the way. So we see this kind of thing coming up repeatedly with people. When it comes to wellness, wow, there's tons of research out there about health, well-being, and the benefits of meditation. And if you're watching this video, you're probably well aware of all the many, many benefits of meditation. But there are times you just don't feel like doing it, or we get so caught up in our lives that we put it off. We could look at high performance studies and high performers, people who aspire, have big dreams, big ideas, entrepreneurs in sales, in any aspect of life, just people who want to improve and grow. There are indicators, and there has been a ton of research in the field of positive psychology. They give us indicators, ways to look at what's holding us back. Why is it that when we actually need to do something and we know what to do, we don't do it? Why is motivation sometimes so weak? Or we get easily distracted with social media, easily distracted with TV, easily distracted with things that are not moving the needle in our life. Let's take a look. And I want to offer you some tips, some strategies that truly will be a game changer for you when you do it. First, though, and let's work around that, let's look at 4. There are many, but there are 4 primary indicators based on studies that have helped us to understand when people are not getting what they want, dogging it, failing, or just not even making an effort. It's not rocket science. There are things we can look at. So, for example, first, there are 4. I want to cover 4 with you. And the first one I would mention is the benefits. It's important that whatever it is you aspire to, whatever your goal is, whatever it is you want to work toward, it could be a more loving relationship. It could be having more fun. It could be better fitness, health, well-being, scaling up your business. Whatever it is, it's important that your desire is compelling, that you have a burning desire inside, so to speak. It makes it compelling, that failure is not an option, and you have a high level of commitment. So how do we get there? And how do we create this compelling desire and interest? Well, it's important that you are consciously aware of and focused on the benefits, the value, both the intrinsic and extrinsic benefits and values. First, what's in it for yourself? What's the reward? What's the payoff? Even though some people would say, I know I shouldn't be eating all this chocolate, it's not the craving for the chocolate that's the problem. It's what's behind the craving that needs to be looked at. And oftentimes there's a reward, because when we eat sweets, I mean, I like chocolate too, especially dark chocolate, just we got to manage it, right? When we eat them, there's a payoff. It tastes great. But it also helps us to release more of those feeling good enzymes in the body. That is a payoff. When we watch TV and we're distracted by that or social media, you could say a reward or payoff, and the algorithms support that, is we're not dealing with something that we feel conflicted about. We're not making that decision that needs to be made, or we're lacking confidence. So we procrastinate and we let ourselves be distracted. So it's important to understand self-awareness, understand what's behind it. What's the craving behind the craving? What's going on that holds us back? And a big part of that would be, again, we're going to look at 4, would be the intrinsic and extrinsic benefits. So what's the payoff? What's the value for you? And what I want you to do is not intellectualize it. Of course, you could write and journal it. You could think about it. And there are some really, really, really cool studies. There's great information out there. There are awesome influencers. And they do their best, and they want to help us. And they give us all these reasons. But I'm here to tell you, after working with hundreds of thousands of people with meditation, dynamic meditation, through the Silva Method, unless you internalize it, unless you feel it, unless you live it internally, ain't going to happen. Because there's too many ways to slip, too many excuses, too many things that get in the way and distract us. So I want you to feel this, to mentally rehearse it, eyes closed, in a relaxed state where you're more open, more receptive. And what's the payoff here? What's the value? How will it help you? So whatever it is that your goal is, whatever it is that you want to work toward, how will it help you? How's it going to move the needle in your life? How is it going to contribute to your happiness, your well-being, your sense of fulfillment, your pleasure, your well-being? What will you be able to do as a result? If you're scaling up your business and you're going to thrive and have more disposable income, well, why is that important to you? What will you do with it? Maybe you want to be more generous with friends or family or your children. Maybe you want to go to that special holiday spot or that restaurant you've been wanting to check out. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's important that there are meaningful benefits to you. It's interesting. If you're a parent, you've probably done this already for your children. Things that we do because failure is not an option, and it's so important because of our love, our concern for our children. Or maybe it's a loved one or a good friend. Get the idea? Can you relate to this? What about the extrinsic benefit? What's in it for them? There's a great book, very simple, full of really sage wisdom by Joe Polish on what's in it for them. Great information. That's an important question for us all to ask when you have a goal. It's not just about business. When you want to improve, self-improve, be masterful at something, when you want to have a new habit pattern, when you want to have better fitness and well-being, or you want to slim down, or you want to have more energy and vitality. Yes, the benefit value. How will that benefit others, though? What will you be able to do as a result? I have 3 children. I have now 3 grandchildren. And one of the things, in a few months, I'll be 72. And I want to wrestle with my grandchildren. I want to play with them. I want to run around. I want to play hide and seek with them. I want to because they have boundless energy. I want to help them learn to ride and improve their skills, riding a bike and, chase after them. Well, I need to be fit. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, right? You get the idea? So what are some benefits or values for other people who will directly or indirectly benefit from what you're working toward? And again, I want you to feel this, not intellectualize it with me. That's important. You need to, it's an inside game. If you're not integrated and you go through, been there, done that, I know this, well, good luck. You'll need it because we've all been there and done that. If you're a student of self-improvement and personal development, you know these things. And just because you know it doesn't mean you're doing it. And I'm telling you, follow these steps. It is a game changer for you. Second indicator, reason why you're not getting what you want, or we're dogging it, or not even making the effort, would be not having enough bandwidth, enough time of the day, enough energy, enough, it's just so much energy, right? There's just so much of you, so much of me that we can give of ourselves. So it's very important that we prioritize our goals, that we prioritize our action steps, that we prioritize our meetings, that we prioritize our time. And a good way to do that is to get a calendar and block it out. I like old school calendars. It's almost like a journal for me, and I block out time. I write myself notes for each day, and I plan out the week on Sunday night for that week. Sure, I could be flexible. Things come up, you know how that is. But if you have it scheduled and you have a deadline, it's more likely to get done. It's how you can kind of make it, again, compelling. It's one reason why some people procrastinate. Because when people procrastinate and then they're right on the wire, it's like, oh my God, I got to get this done. And that's like a kick in the butt, and then they push everything to get it done. It's too stressful. You're more likely to make mistakes. You're more likely to burn yourself out. It's just not a way to live with that. So what I'm going to say to you is that sometimes we need to say no when people ask us. I think it's wonderful. You may be very generous. And I meet some wonderful, generous people that give of their time. They're right there with you to help, to support you. Let's do more of that. Let's help each other. However, there's just so much bandwidth, right? So sometimes we need to say, hey, man, I care. I love you, whatever's appropriate. But I've got this time blocked out. These are priorities for me in my life. How about next week? How about next month? I've had to do that with some people who want coaching with me. And I'll say, I'd love that. Appreciate it. Thank you. But I've got things blocked out already that are important to me in my life. And there are people counting on me, clients already, my students in my classes. You get the idea? So it's okay to say no. And when we love ourselves and respect ourselves, it makes it easier. That sometimes you can say, hey, I know you have an emergency, and I'm sorry that you didn't plan ahead, and I'm sorry that you didn't do your due diligence, but I also have priorities here too. So block out the time, respect yourself, love yourself enough to ask, what's moving the needle for me in my life? What's going to help me create the life that I want? And again, eyes closed. Whether you do this for 5 minutes or 15 minutes, and mentally rehearse that. Not just, you can use affirmations. They're beautiful. But the affirmations by themselves are not so meaningful. Not so meaningful. It's important that you feel it. So again, mentally rehearse. And visualization is cool and helpful. However, it's far more important to have a feeling about it. A strong feeling, intention, why it's important, why it's valuable to you. Excuse the phone ringing. I didn't take it off the hook. You get the idea? Very, very important aspect. Close your eyes. We call it in Silva Alpha level. When you close your eyes and you do some slow, deep breathing, better yet, if you're a Silva Method practitioner, enter your level 3-1 method. And what you're accessing is a super learning state. Fact. Where you learn faster, you learn easier. The defenses are down. That's what I mean by it's an inside game. So whatever wisdom you have, whatever great books you're reading, whatever motivating tips you're getting from these fantastic thought leaders, integrate it. How? In a meditative state. Third reason, indicator why you're not getting what you want, why you're not even making an effort, or maybe even failing at it, if you want to call it that, or I'll just say not succeeding in the way you want, is opportunity cost. There's a trade-off in everything we do. However we use our time, whatever you do with your time, it's a trade-off taking you away from something else. Agreed? If you make a commitment to some customers, some clients, or to a family member or a friend, that's going to take you away from something else. But again, if it's important to you, if it's high on your list of priorities, if there's benefit and value for you and for them and you care about them, it's a whole lot easier. So sometimes you just need to look that, be a good person, help, assist, be generous with your time. However, if you keep saying yes and you really want to examine that, again, take self-awareness. What's really behind that? Are we trying to be a people pleaser? Are we having difficulty to say no because we don't want them to get angry with us? If that's the case, that's what people pleasers do. That's really not a win-win for anybody, because then you run the risk of having some resentment toward them. And worse, it takes you off your game. So appreciate that, recognize that, ask yourself, what would I have to sacrifice, or maybe what would I have to let go of or not do in order to move this into my schedule? Again, there's opportunity cost. And when you recognize it, and then you think, but this is so important, this is much more valuable, has so much more value, it's easier to do that. We need to consciously feel that. Can you relate? Oh. And number four, I've saved the big Megillah for last. I don't know where I got that expression. I think as a kid growing up in Brooklyn, my family used to use it, the big Megillah. Future identity. I have found, I've worked with hundreds of thousands of people. I've traveled around the world to 27 different countries, repeatedly worked in different cultures. And I'm telling you this because whether I've worked with large groups, small groups, and one-on-one with people, it's one thing to have the tools, but one reason why people are mentally rehearsing the way they want to be, their best self emerging. Sometimes it's inconceivable. Sometimes it's not aligned with their future identity, and we're having trouble seeing ourselves in this new capacity, with this new skill, with this new masterful way about us, whatever it is. Think about things that are important to you in your life. And I can tell you that it's one reason why people say, I'm doing all the right things, I'm making the time, I'm practicing. I hear this from Silva Method practitioners all the time, but I'm still not getting results. And then upon close examination and assessment, we come to realize because it's not in their future identity. 1983, I created an exercise, 86. I keep track of my dates, called Future Self. And I conduct this, and I have all these fun guided meditations that I offer as an advanced training to Silva Method graduates. People have been through the live, in-person, or virtual classes called Silva Mastery. And I did this because I began to recognize that when people are not able to put themselves in a more positive light, like, oh my God, I couldn't do it, ain't gonna happen. Well, that's the conscious awareness. But what about what's going on interconsciously? What about, that feeling level? The late, great Dr. O. Carl Simonton, the man who pioneered guided imagery, relaxation techniques, Silva skills, by the way. He's a Silva Method graduate as a cancer specialist, an oncologist. He found that when he was doing guided imagery with patients and said, now imagine, visualize yourself healthy, free of cancer. They couldn't do it because, especially back in the early 70s, they had this feeling of, oh my God, it's this terrible thing that we know nothing about, the big killer, the big C. So he had to slow down and make it more believable and chunk it down into baby steps of making slow but steady progress. So you may have to do that also for yourself as you begin. But I can tell you, as part of this exercise, I want you to do and incorporate, whether it be for 5 minutes or 15 minutes, your choice, do this every day and notice the difference. That's my challenge to you. I challenge you. If you're still here listening to me this video, then there's something about this that you're resonating with. Thank you. I appreciate your listening. Now my challenge is find out for yourself. Eyelids closed. And you want to imagine 3 slow deep breaths, or again, you're a Silva Method practitioner, enter your level. We spend 4 days developing those skills. And imagine your best self emerging in all that you do, not just today, but tomorrow, next week, next year, in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And I can tell you, it's fascinating to me how neuroscience is helping us to understand this age-old wisdom, things we've been teaching people since 1966 in the Silva Method. And we were told woo-woo, Now brain scans are demonstrating and creating the evidence to support that. And I can tell you, when you do that, you'll feel hopeful, you'll have faith, it'll help to instill a confidence that somehow, some way, you can figure this out. And when you have that kind of confidence, you're more likely to take action because you feel hopeful, you have that faith. And when you take action, you get results. You'll be more likely to apply it. So remember, as you do this, repetition is necessary. You are literally, we now know, firing and wiring the brain, creating new neural patterns. And the only way a neural pattern will be established, installed, is repetition. Part of me wishes that weren't so. That's the fact. It's not a quick fix. Please do not let anybody kid you or seduce you with quick fix mentality. They're full of you know what. But it doesn't take years of repetition, literally weeks, months, within 30 days to 90 days of consistent application, and then occasionally reinforcing that. The next thing you know, it's just what you do. It's just you. So it begins with an intention. And then eventually it becomes a habit. And then eventually it becomes who you are. So my friends, my name is Ken Coscia. I serve as the Silva Method training director. I'm the lead instructor. I used to be the youngest in 1971 when I started, the youngest instructor. Now I'm the most experienced. They say I'm the oldest, but still not in age. There are still some instructors out there who are older than me. But it's a really funny, odd feeling with that. I love doing this, and I so appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Maybe one day we'll meet in the immersion of Silva Life and Intuition System, this incredible course that I'm privileged to teach that Jose Silva developed with 22 years of research way back starting in he started way back in 1944, but 66 went public with that. So you've got this. And remember, you are far greater. You are far more powerful. You have far more within you than you realize. It's just a matter of exploring it, discovering it, and start applying it. And every time you have a little bit of a success, you make a little bit of progress, yay! Celebrate it. Yes, yes. Give yourself a high five. You got this.